So welcome back to our conversations with associations on how they've been dealing with COVID. And today we're joined by Darius Samojlowicz from the Mathematical Association of New South Wales. Thank you for joining us, Darius.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
and
Darius.
New South Wales. So we're just going to kick off and ask you, how has your association been impacted by COVID this year, and how's it been for you?
Yeah, similar, I'm imagining, to all associations. Our face-to-face professional learning was just devastated. Everyone's gone into shutdown, based on all the health advice that we've got. So we had to cancel, postpone all of our face-to-face courses. And that's a significant income for us as an association. But we also needed to look at how were we going to maintain our services to members as well. And so what we actually did was look at what has been significantly impacted, what we can still deliver, and how can we still meet and work towards our strategic goals. And in this particular case, one of our goals that we've had for about 18 months, 2 years now, there's always been talkings, but seriously about 18 months, 2 years, is to look at how we can actually engage our regional, rural and remote members a little bit more. Because we weren't delivering face-to-face, we put our time and effort into that. And what that actually started to look like in the largest instance was shifting our professional learning online. And so we were able to deliver and convert all of our courses into that online environment. And what we actually saw from that was a much bigger engagement from our regional, rural and remote members. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback from them in regards to that. We had to do some careful thinking about that though, because sitting in front of a screen like this for a full day course, 5-hour or 5.5-hour course, is just not sustainable. It's too tiring for people. And so we needed to look at what we traditionally ran as a full day course and look at, well, can we break that up into 2 sessions or 3 sessions? Do we weed it out a little bit? Do we look at putting it into a spaced learning environment where we actually deliver and engage with these participants? They go away and practice or implement some of the learnings that they had, and then we come back and do a follow-up as well. So we were really strategic in looking at what we're actually delivering, how we could actually do it in this online space, and what the benefit and what that teacher was actually getting out of it themselves as well. Because obviously a lot of the things that we do in our association is a lot of hands-on and practical stuff. So we're manipulating the mathematics, we're talking about the mathematics, we're actually doing that particular mathematics, and that's really hard or very different in an online space as well. So we really needed to look at what the content of our courses was, how we could engage those teachers in that online space, and for them to get value out of it as well. So in answer to your question, that's a long answer to it, but we actually, we were impacted significantly because we couldn't deliver face-to-face. We moved our attention into other areas of our strategic goals, which was putting in online courses for access for regional, rural, metropolitan teachers could still access them as well. And what we're actually planning now as we move ahead into 2021, we're in a much stronger position where we have our online offerings now that we've developed up over the last 8 or 9 months, but we also have our face-to-face offerings as well. And so our planning phase now is an integration of both of those modes of learning for our teachers.
Yeah, so you've been very busy, in other words.
Well, look, David, one of the benefits that we had, and when you talk about what impact it has, one of the other actions that I actually had to do was some financial modelling. To sit there and say, well, this is our income and our expenses. This income stream has just stopped instantly. So I did some forward financial modeling, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months ahead, to say, what does that financial picture look like for us as a professional association? Can we make some savings somewhere along the way? Do we have to lay off staff? Because we're fortunate enough as a professional association to have permanent staff. Not all associations run on a permanent staff model. They work on volunteer basis as well. And so we're in a really fortunate position with our financial modelling that I actually didn't have to lay off any staff. I didn't have to reduce staffing hours. But what I really had to do was to look at and share with the staff what their skills were and what value they were actually still putting back into the association. Their work may have looked different to what it did pre-COVID, but the work they are doing now is still valuable work, and they still played an important role in our organisation. And so when you talk about we've been very busy, yes, we are. And some of our staff would say, I'm actually even busier now, because they were upskilling themselves in their own skills about working in that environment, as well as what our core business is engaging with professional learning with schools and teachers.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess the other thing, and there's been a thread through some of the other chats that we've had, is associations have also spent the time to look at other offerings that they've had and make changes to those. So were there any other MANSW offerings that you guys strategically altered or kept the same?
Yeah. Look, we have a lot of student offerings as well that we actually put in place, and they've all traditionally been face-to-face as well. So we had to convert our student offerings into online. You know, HSC still went ahead. HSC students, we provide a lot of resources for them, and we had to sit there and say, well, how can we still provide a valuable resource for our students sitting that HSC year? And so we needed to look at that. We developed access 24/7 courses for both students and teachers as well, which is something we hadn't had before. So we've got an online environment where they can work at self-paced anytime they like. So that was another particular offering we had. The other thing we looked at was our print material too. You know, traditionally, we produce a number of publications throughout the year, all in print, traditionally all in print, and we've had the option of a downloadable PDF. Well, in this particular year, we actually said, can we do that differently? Remember, I spoke a little bit before about income and expenses.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to produce a print publication. And so we looked at, well, what if we only produce this in an electronic version? What were the implications for there? Were there cost savings for there? Do the recipients of those publications still value them as much as they did in that print environment as well? And so we're talking to our members about that too. You know, do you want this print? Do you want this electronic? How do you use these types of publications as well? Do we continue producing electronic only, or do we need to go to offering both of those types of publications as well? So it was really interesting, and it was a great opportunity. As devastating as the crisis is, it was a fantastic opportunity to look at what we actually do as an organisation, where we can actually be more effective, what the endpoint user was getting out of the benefits of our association as well. And so we had a lot of, it was frantic, I suppose, but it was a controlled and a measured frantic where we were looking very quickly at all of those services. And what we have been able to do is maintain all of our services. They may look different, but we've been able to maintain all of our services to students and teachers.
That's excellent. So what does 21 bring for MANSW then? What have you, apart from the professional learning, which you've changed on with and morphed, other things that you've discovered that you might be able to do, because we're still not sure what 21 as a total year is going to look like, and we assume there are restrictions, particularly in the first 6 months. So yeah, where are you up to with that?
We're still in that phase now of exactly that, David. What does 2021 look like? We don't know. We're planning, like I said, that hybrid type offerings that we're putting going at face-to-face and online model for everything that we're doing, and we're listening really carefully to what that advice is coming from government and health authorities as well. And we're having a plan A, plan B type scenario that's moving ahead, so we can react very quickly to any announcements that are put in place. What we really need to be thinking about, though, from our point of view, is can we sustain this reactionary type model, or do we need to be a little bit more planned as we're moving forward? And I think that's the stage that we're in. And like I said, I've mentioned a plan A, plan B type model that we're moving forward with. to make sure that we're a little bit more planned with that. The other thing that we need to be really conscious of is, yes, I have done financial modelling, but it's time to start revisiting that again once we're getting that more information come through as to what our operations, what we can and can't do with restrictions as well, and really revisit that financial model moving forward and looking at can we sustain every operation like we are at the moment, or do we need to look at other sources of income or look at other sources of cost cutting?
Right. Well, look, thank you for your time, Darius. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Darius.
it.
Not a problem at all.
Thank you. We've got some great takeaways there. I'm sure a lot of the associations will really be interested in what you have to say and how you've been dealing with COVID this year. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Best.